Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a genuinely fascinating story in the entrepreneurial space. Today, we're breaking down the journey of Mahesh Kumar. He's a serial tech entrepreneur who basically spent 2 decades building massive, traditional companies. But here is the crazy twist. Instead of continuing to scale up and build a massive empire, Mahesh executed this brilliant pivot. He intentionally walked away from the high-stress, venture-backed tech startup world to scale down into a super streamlined, highly profitable micro-business model. We're going to unpack exactly how he runs this entire portfolio today, completely as a solo operator. Okay, let's dive into this with a totally staggering number, $150 million. That is the actual amount of venture capital Mahesh once raised and subsequently burned right through in his past traditional tech startups. He spent 15 years doing things the conventional way, right? Raising massive chunks of capital, managing huge teams of employees, and basically speedrunning every single lesson on exactly how not to scale a business. It was this intense, high-stakes, high-burn environment that literally demanded every waking ounce of his time and energy. Now contrast that hyper-stressful past with what his reality looks like today. Instead of begging for capital, managing dozens of people, dealing with absolute custom code bloat, and living with immense stress, today he operates as an incredibly agile solopreneur using all-in-one technology. His goal isn't a billion-dollar valuation or a unicorn status anymore. His target is simply a highly profitable, balanced $100,000 a month in revenue across his portfolio. He is prioritizing work-life balance above literally everything else. So here is our roadmap for the Explainer. First, we'll look at his shift from bloat to balance. Next, we'll open up his actual micro-business portfolio. Then we'll check out the all-in-one engine running the show, break down some high-conversion funnel tactics, and finally, we'll explore the crucial mindset shift, curiosity over fear, that makes this whole thing possible. All right, part 1, from bloat to balance, how he completely rethought the startup blueprint. If we trace Mahesh's tech evolution, it's a wild ride. Way back in 2006, he's coding in C and Java, aiming for massive global scale. Fast forward to 2014, and he's deep in the venture capital trenches, burning through that $150 million we talked about. But notice the big shift around 2020. He tried to downsize, relying on Upwork freelancers and WordPress. But honestly, he just ended up in a total nightmare of software bloat. He was constantly paying expensive developers just to fix all these patched-together plugins that always seemed to mysteriously break on a Friday night, right? Finally, in 2023, his frustration peaked. That led him to discover an all-in-one platform called System.io, and that finally brought him the absolute simplicity he so desperately needed. But the real catalyst for this whole evolution wasn't some spreadsheet metric. It was deeply personal. Becoming a father completely shifted his internal metric for success. He realized he didn't want a life defined by living out of a suitcase and sitting in endless VC board meetings. He wanted the actual freedom to be present with his family, to focus on his own health, and to just build things on his own terms. Moving to part 2, the micro-business portfolio. How he solves real human problems at scale. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. He manages 9 totally different domains as a solo operator. For example, there's Moonrise.health, which is a 12-week program helping women heal pelvic floor dysfunction. Then you have Hypopressives, which is an academic institution that trains teachers in a specific Swedish breathing method. And then, completely shifting gears, he runs HouseOfVoice.ai, which focuses on voice AI products and vibe coding. By the way, vibe coding just means using plain English AI prompts to have the AI write software for you. So he's tackling deeply human, complex problems across vastly different niches, but he manages the whole shebang from one central hub. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth does one person scale a portfolio this wide? Well, the secret is going deeper, not broader. Mahesh realized that instead of constantly starting brand new projects and spinning up more domains, the real key to hitting that $100,000 a month goal is to just optimize what he already has. He scales by diving really deep into SEO, refining his paid ads, and tapping into affiliate marketing to drive more high-quality traffic to his existing high-converting properties. Let's hit part 3. The all-in-one engine, or as I like to call it, curing the software bloat. The old way he was doing things was basically a nightmare. He was paying up to $400 a month just for ActiveCampaign because he kept hitting their tag limits. He had these expensive developers trying to patch together extremely buggy Stripe integrations on WordPress. But the System.io way was a total game changer. The biggest shock for Mahesh When he reached out to their support, they literally offered to migrate his entire complex funnel structure for free, just for signing up for an annual plan. So he dropped all those expensive patchwork tools for one single platform that takes zero transaction fees and gives him a rock-solid, incredibly reliable checkout. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is how incredibly simple features create massive leverage. To run multiple brands effectively, Mahesh relies on unlimited tags for segmentation, so he never hits a paywall ceiling as his audience grows. He seamlessly hosts both drip access and full access courses. And my favorite part, how he manages communication across 9 domains. He just integrates his GoDaddy DNS and uses a really clever Zapier routing trick. Basically, all customer emails go to a single, central holding company inbox, and an AI instantly routes the correct response back through the specific brand's email address. It's an absolute masterclass in automated multi-brand management. On to part 4, high conversion funnel tactics. Let's look at the exact mechanics of a $100K a month engine. Let's move to how this actually builds a seamless journey for the customer. This is his high-performing webinar funnel flow. It starts off really simple with a clean registration page, which then moves the user straight to the watch page for the webinar. Immediately after he delivers the value, they hit an order form. But the real magic happens at step 4, the one-click upsell and downsell. By just dragging and dropping elements inside his all-in-one system, he can offer one-on-one sessions or premium tier access with a single click. That drastically increases his average order value without any extra friction. Here's where it gets super cool. Mahesh doesn't just rely on standard out-of-the-box templates. He actually supercharges his funnels using AI. Because he already understands the logic of coding, he acts as his own developer by talking to Claude AI. He has Claude generate custom HTML code snippets for highly personalized urgency blocks. Think countdown timers or dynamic limited stock warnings. And then he just takes that HTML and drops it right into his Systema.io pages. It's a brilliant way to get custom-coded performance without ever needing to hire a developer. So the absolutely crucial point here is this mind-blowing number. Because his checkout process is finally frictionless and reliable, Mahesh is seeing a massive 60% conversion rate on his order bumps. Just think about that for a second. 6 out of every 10 people who are already buying a product decide to instantly add an extra item to their cart, purely because the system is completely reliable and the offer is perfectly placed. That is the true power of curing your software bloat. Finally, part 5, curiosity over fear. The mindset you need for a micro business. Mahesh uses this incredibly powerful kind of existential framing mechanism. When he's faced with a very real fear of a business failing, he reminds himself that he doesn't even remember the name of his own great-grandfather. In just a few generations, none of us are going to be remembered. And instead of finding that depressing, he finds it completely liberating. If none of it truly matters in the grand scheme of time, there is absolutely zero reason to let the fear of failure stop you from building something cool today. You just don't have to take it so seriously. And that realization, that is exactly what allows him to completely replace fear with pure, unadulterated curiosity. He views entrepreneurship simply as a vehicle to channel that curiosity. For him, it's a way to ask questions, to continuously learn. I mean, the guy taught himself AI coding at 40, and to build things that actually improve people's lives, like those pelvic floor health programs. It's an exploration. It is not some high-stakes test of his personal identity. So that brings us to the ultimate takeaway of this explainer. Look, even a seasoned pro who once raised and burned through $150 million had to learn to stop overthinking and just trust his own gut to finally find peace, balance, and real profitability. Have the courage to listen to your own intuition. Just get started. As Mahesh puts it, at the very beginning, you are nobody to most people, which means you literally have absolutely nothing to lose. I really want to leave you with this final provocative question. I want you to look at your own projects, your own ideas, and your own business bottlenecks. Ask yourself honestly right now, is your curiosity bigger than your fear? Because if it is, then it's time to stop overthinking, go find your all-in-one engine, and just get building. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.